How much do you know about your brain? I've been reading Dr. Caroline Leaf's book, Switch on Your Brain, and I've learned some really fascinating things about stress and the different levels of stress and our responses to those levels. Let me hit you with some facts. Stress is a factor in 75% of all illnesses and diseases that people suffer from today. The association between stress and disease is 85%. The International Agency for Research on Cancer and the World Health Organization have concluded that 80% of cancer is from lifestyles and not genetics, and this number is a conservative number. The American Institute of Health estimates that 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care physicians are for stress-related problems. I have been reading Dr. Caroline Leaf's book called Switch on Your Brain, and it makes me think about how much we really understand about our brains and the capacity of our brains. I think a lot of times people say if we were able to utilize our entire brain, we would be unstoppable, and I think that's really true. But there's a lot that we already know about our brains but just isn't widely understood, and I think it's really important to know some of these things and understand how our brains function, how they work, and how they're designed to function and work, and how that supports healthy living, healthy lifestyles, and a happy life. So I hit you guys with some facts about stress, and I'm sure you think, hey, stress is normal, it's a part of life, it's something that I'm just gonna have to deal with. And you are kind of right, you're half right. So there are 3 different levels of stress, and level 1 stress is totally normal. It's sort of just a heightened awareness that allows us to anticipate and participate in the world around us. But levels 2 and 3 of stress are toxic to the brain. Even just a little bit of those levels of stress can have really wide consequences on our mental and physical health. Stress is a huge problem in today's society. Most of the time we don't think about how important our thinking is in building synapses and changing the chemistry of our brain. I will admit to having a mostly basic understanding of what happens when we experience stress at unnatural and unhealthy levels, but even a base understanding is enough to realize how important of a factor stress plays in getting ourselves healthy, maintaining our health, and our happiness and satisfaction in life. So, how do we deal with stress? We often cannot control the things that sort of prompt this stress response in our brains and in our biology, but we can curb these stress levels before they become unhealthy patterns. So this is one of the most important things that the Alexander Technique seeks to do for you. We want to switch ourselves from having these unconscious, habitual patterns and bringing them into the sphere of consciousness and reasoned choices. So level 1 stress is natural, it's healthy, but letting level 1 stress progress to levels 2 and 3 is a choice. This is a reaction, and we can control our reactions. This is one of the things that Dr. Caroline Leaf talks a lot about in her books, but it's also something that we talk a lot about in the Alexander Technique. In the Alexander Technique, we usually use a low-level stimulus, something that's very low stakes. So oftentimes we'll look at a chair, and chairs are for sitting, and if we see a chair, we usually want to sit. These are sort of the basic understandings of what a chair is, what it functions for, and what we use it for. So just because there is a chair, it doesn't mean we need to sit in that chair. So the questions we might ask ourselves before we go to that chair, we want to stop, we want to inhibit, we want to ask ourselves the question of, hey, do I even really want to sit down right now? If I don't want to sit, I could definitely stand, I could walk around, I could leave this room, and I could come back later when I feel like sitting down. There's so many different things we could do. And if we decide we do want to sit, we could say, hey, is there another place that I could sit? I could sit on a bench, I could sit on the floor, I could sit in that chair. And if I go to that chair and make the decision to sit, I then make that decision consciously. And I know it's a very low level, low stakes sort of decision, but it takes something that we would have done unconsciously and brings it into the conscious realms. So if we apply this to stress, if we're experiencing level 1 stress and we start to feel that sort of elevating to levels 2 and 3, we can stop, we can inhibit, and we can ask ourselves some questions. Maybe, am I overreacting to this stimulus? Do I really want to get myself all worked up right now? Is there another way to deal with this? Maybe I need to take a step back and get myself under control, get myself back to something that's going to be a little bit more baseline, a little bit more neutral, so that when I come back to the stimulus, I'm in a better place to manage myself and be able to deal with what's going on. If we are able to stop and reconsider, I think most of us would choose not to enter levels 2 and 3 of stress. But it can be hard to say no to the part of yourself that wants to indulge in a pity party or a tantrum or wants to be angry and irrational. That's why this is a choice. Your life does not have to be thrown into chaos for any reason. You can always choose not to have stress. The real question is, where will you find your peace? Tune in for Sunday as we talk through some tips and strategies to get yourself out of the stress cycle. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. If there's anything that you are looking for specific help with, send me a message or write me a comment. I am here to help.